This is Land of Havilah, 2 Samuel 20. David's return from exile isn't going so smoothly. The men of Israel have taken offense at the men of Judah for bringing David back without consulting them. They're still at the edge of the river, supposedly to welcome David and the exiles, but the arguing between Judah and the rest of Israel is breaking out into another revolt. Verse 1. There happened to be there a wicked fellow whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite, and he blew the trumpet and said, We have no portion in David, neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse, every man to his tents, Israel. Comment: Sheba is the instigator. He's a Benjamite, Benjamin being just north of Judah. Sheba's calling on Israel to pay no attention to David. He says, We have no portion or inheritance in David, meaning he's not going to do anything for us. Verse 2. So all the men of Israel went up from following David and followed Sheba the son of Bichri. Comment: Sheba hasn't exactly proclaimed himself king, but Israel is following him. Still in verse 2. But the men of Judah joined with their king from the Jordan even to Jerusalem. Comment: the men of Judah escorted David all the way to Jerusalem. Now that David's home, he has several messes to deal with. First, in his own house. Verse 3. David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and put them in custody, and provided them with sustenance, but didn't go in to them. So they were shut up to the day of their death, living in widowhood. Comment: these are the 10 wives or concubines that Absalom violated. David didn't divorce them, he still kept them, but didn't have relations with them anymore. Verse 4. Then the king said to Amasa, Call me the men of Judah together within 3 days and be here present. Comment: Amasa is David's nephew and cousin of the late Absalom. He was Absalom's commander, and David declared him his commander in the last chapter. Verse 5. So Amasa went to call the men of Judah together, but he stayed longer than the set time which he had appointed him. David said to Abishai, Now Sheba the son of Bichri will do us more harm than Absalom did. Take your Lord's servants and pursue after him, lest he get himself fortified cities and escape out of our sight. Comment: that didn't take long. Amasa failed in his first assignment to gather the troops of Judah. He went past the set time to assemble them. So David called on Joab's brother, Abishai, to get the job done. Since Abishai and Joab are like peas in a pod, and Joab has always been the senior of the two, it's really Joab who's commander again. Abishai is going to set out with just the full-time troops that David keeps on hand. He's not going to wait on the assembly of all Judah. Verse 7. Joab's men went out after Abishai and the Cherethites and Pelethites and all the mighty men, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri. When they were at the great stone which is in Gibeon, comment: they only got a few miles from Jerusalem, Abishai and Joab and all of David's regular troops. They only got a few miles from Jerusalem, and still in verse 8, Amasa came to meet them. Comment: Amasa, Joab, and Abishai are all cousins. Amasa finally showed up with a militia of Judah in tow. Still in verse 8, Joab was clothed in his apparel of war that he had put on, and on it was a sash with a sword fastened on his waist in its sheath, and as he went along it fell out. Joab said to Amasa, Is it well with you, my brother? Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him, but Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand, so he struck him with it in the body and shed out his bowels to the ground, and didn't strike him again, and he died. Comment: in the past, Joab killed Abner in cold blood. He killed his cousin Absalom against David's direct order, and now he's killed his cousin and rival Amasa. The description of the incident isn't complete, but Joab's sword fell out on the ground, probably intentionally as a diversionary tactic so he could pick it up again and attack Amasa by surprise, or Joab made it fall out to divert Amasa's attention from a sword in his other hand, the point being it was a cold-blooded attack and not an act of war. Now Joab and Abishai are going to leave Amasa in the road and go take care of Sheba's rebellion. Still in verse 10. Joab and Abishai his brother pursued Sheba the son of Bichri. One of Joab's young men stood by him and said, He who favors Joab and he who is for David, let him follow Joab. Comment: the men of Judah that Amasa assembled were looking on the scene of Amasa wallowing in the road, not knowing what to do, so one of Joab's young men spoke up and told them to follow Joab. But with Amasa still on the ground, they're going to be a little slow getting going. Verse 12. Amasa lay wallowing in his blood in the middle of the highway. When the man saw that all the people stood still, he carried Amasa out of the highway into the field and cast a garment over him, when he saw that everyone who came by him stood still. When he was removed out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri. Comment: it was a case of rubbernecking. When there's an accident on the highway, even after the accident's cleared, traffic's slow because of rubbernecking, with people examining the damage as they drive by. Traffic was slow until they got Amasa off the road and covered up. Now on to what Sheba the son of Bichri is up to, verse 14. He went through all the tribes of Israel to Abel and to Beth-Maacah and all the Beerites. They were gathered together and went also after him. Comment: the Beerites are one of the large divisions of the tribe of Asher, Numbers 26:44. So there are Beerites with Sheba, in addition to men from all Israel. They've holed up in the far north in the fortified city of Abel Beth-Maacah near Dan. Verse 15. They came and besieged him in Abel of Beth-Maacah, and they cast up a mound against the city, and it stood against the rampart, and all the people who were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. Comment: Joab's army built a siege ramp, and now they're battering the wall. Verse 16. Then a wise woman cried out of the city, "Hear, hear, please say to Joab, come near here that I may speak with you." He came near to her, and the woman said, "Are you Joab?" He answered, "I am." Then she said to him, "Hear the words of your servant." He answered, "I'm listening." Then she spoke, saying, "They used to say in old times, they shall surely ask counsel at Abel, and so they settled a matter." Comment: a wise woman of Abel Beth-Maacah is talking to Joab. She says, "We're legendary in our city for sorting out problems peacefully. I'm sure we can work something out." She continues, verse 19, "I am among those who are peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why will you swallow up Yahweh's inheritance?" Comment: she says Abel Beth-Maacah is important to the whole region. Why destroy it? Verse 20. Joab answered, far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy. The matter is not so, but a man out of the hill country of Ephraim, Sheba the son of Bichri by name, has lifted up his hand against the king, even against David. Just deliver him, and I will depart from the city. The woman said to Joab, "Behold, his head will be thrown to you over the wall." Then the woman went to all the people in her wisdom. They cut off the head of Sheba the son of Bichri and threw it out to Joab. He blew the trumpet, and they were dispersed from the city, every man to his tent. Comment: Joab got Sheba's head. End of assault, end of rebellion. Both sides went home. Sheba lived in the hill country of Ephraim according to Joab, but he was a Benjamite by descent. By way of review, this is the end of a long line of events that started when David spotted Bathsheba from his roof. He committed adultery with her, then murdered her husband. The thing displeased Yahweh. He said he would raise up opposition to David from his own house. Sometime later, David's firstborn Amnon raped his half-sister Tamar. Her full brother Absalom killed Amnon and fled to his grandfather, king of Geshur. He was there 3 years, and David brought Absalom back. Finally, after 2 more years, David reconciled with Absalom, and Absalom pretended to be reconciled. But after another 4 years, he fomented a revolution and proclaimed himself king, sending David into exile. The revolution ended when Joab killed Absalom while he was hanging there in the tree. And David came back, but after the disruption in power, Sheba the son of Bichri found an opening for revolt, and now finally the kingdom is back firmly in David's hands after many years of turmoil. Still in verse 22. Then Joab returned to Jerusalem to the king. Now Joab was over all the army of Israel. Comment: Joab remained over the army of Israel. Joab reappointed himself, really, and David just let it stand. If David ever had any words with Joab about it, they're not on record. David must have wrestled with that. Joab's very flawed, and clearly he and his brother exasperate David, 2 Samuel 3:39, 16:10, and 19:22. But for better or for worse, Joab got his job back. Still in verse 23. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and over the Pelethites. Comment: those are David's loyal elite troops. verse 24. Adoram was over the men subject to forced labor. Jehoshaphat the son of Ahilud was the recorder. Shiva was scribe, and Zadok and Abiathar were priests. And Ira the Jairite was chief minister to David. Comment: 2 Samuel 21 is next at landofhavilah.net, 2 Samuel 21. This is the map of 2 Samuel 20. The remains of Abel Beth Maacah have been identified here, 106 miles north of Jerusalem and about 25 miles north of the Sea of Galilee. 2 Samuel 21 next.